God to me has red lines.
Yeah.
Like God to me represents the Islamic faith. The Christian God to me, I don't see God. I can't explain. I don't see anything there. So
Yeah.
to me, it was the only logical choice in the end.
It's supposed to be the same God too, though. So, it's the God of Abraham, God of Isaac. Just throwing that out there.
Nah, man.
To Islam. To be honest, I've kind of had sort of an American view. Tate converted. It's really changed my mind towards the whole religion. I'm definitely going to look into it.
I have nothing against Islam. You're going to look into it, but you're not turning your back on Jesus, are you?
I'm just saying, I'm like...
But what about Jesus? You're not turning your back on Jesus. It's like, calm down, ma. He just says he's going to look into it. I mean, you should just be happy that he wants to, explore other things. I think so.
I'm going to do research into it, because if he is going into that religion, and I value his words much with everything else he's saying, I'm assuming it means something.
Listen, nothing against it. You're Sicilian.
Well, I think a lot of people have been following me.
You're Sicilian. You're not supposed to be anything besides... weird.
For a while, understand that I've been very respectful of Islam for a long time.
Yeah, sure.
I was born in a Christian country. I was raised as a Christian, and I've always been very respectful of Islam. And it's become more and more obvious to me and more pertinent that Islam is the last religion on the planet. When I talk about Islam, because I'm new to it,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit careful, right? Because I'm new to it. I'm certainly not a scholar. There's so much I need to learn. I know I'm on a learning journey. I'm not here to sit here and talk scripture. I don't know those things yet. I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
But
And we're here at your assistance.
thank you, bro. Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's just, for me, it feels like the last religion on earth. I feel like there's no other religion. People say to me, why did you convert? And I said, I don't really feel it as a conversion. It's almost like I knew God was real, and now I've become religious. And they say, well, you were religious before. I was like, religious before how? Christian? What does Christian mean? Like, who's not a Christian?
I can see what he's talking about. Everybody's a Christian. Everybody is spiritual. They're they don't have it, and they say there's certain things on it, but it's like, are you really? Are you like the lady, the mom? But you're Sicilian. So what does that have to do with anything?
You go to Christian nations and everyone says they're Christian. Look how they live their lives. Go into the average church. Is anyone actually fearful of God? Anybody? No. The girls are out on Saturday night drinking, and then they turn up to church because their parents made them. Like there's no substance to the religion. And also, Islam very closely reflects my personal beliefs. Through my personal life, I've learned that if you don't have standards and you're not a strong person who's prepared to defend his ideas, you'll be crushed.
Yes.
And we look at most religions in the world today which are not prepared to defend their ideas. What's happened to them? They're just getting crushed. And now we have Christianity as an idea which has basically said, well, we can't set any firm rules because everyone will just quit. So instead, let's make it so easy to be a Christian that nobody has to put any effort in.
Yeah.
And then accept everybody no matter what. And hopefully we can keep the church doors open.
Do you not agree with him to an extent with like this religion?
I see why he thinks that. I mean, I can see my youth. So I made all of my sacraments in the Catholic Church, but we didn't go to church every Sunday. We didn't sit at the kitchen table at night and talk about the Bible or biblical principles or the stories and how we could apply them to our own lives. We didn't. We were like, we phoned it in, all of it, but it was extremely important. Like when you had your baptism, communion, confirmation, every single thing was.
Yeah, that's a big problem in the whole, quote, Christian community on there. It seems only the Jewish people and Muslim people sit around the table and actually discuss this. It seems like in Christianity, it's a lifestyle, because everything is a lifestyle now. It's not even about the actual faith. It's not about the principles of what it talks about. It's just it's a social thing to do. You go there every Sunday. It's just a thing you're supposed to do. So I can definitely understand what he's talking about.
So important, and you had to have a big party and the whole family had to be there and we had to make a fuss and you got all new clothes, and that day was critical as a stepping stone in growing up. Yet we didn't really, that was it.
You had a day where you put clothes on, like that's kind of his point.
So I I do see his point, though. I now am a practicing Christian, and it is so very important to me and so part of my daily life. Like, there's things that go on, like while you're sleeping, you know, I'm on the Bible app and I listen to the verse of the day, and then I read the devotional, and I listen to like certain Christian artists.
I think she's missing the point. I don't think she's on the app. She reads the verse of the day. She reads the devotion. That's not even, it's supposed to be your whole life revolves around your faith and your belief. That's what Muslim people believe. So it's not it's not about again, it's not like a lifestyle. It's not a social thing. It's more than that. But that's what it is. That's what most people see it as.
Songs that really help me feel connected, and I go to church, and since we moved to Florida, I'm on the hunt for a new church because I missed the one I fell in love with in Boston. So I'm a different kind of Christian than the one he's talking about. For him to just make a generalization
about the whole religion
is kind of foolish and a little bit ignorant, I think.
God to me is strong. God,
I mean, it's not really ignorant when he's those facts are real. I mean, they're not ignorant. It's just you may not like them, but it's real fact.
to me is something to be feared.
Yeah.
God to me is someone that people are afraid to mock.
Yeah.
God to me is someone that you have to go out of your way to prove something to. God to me has red lines.
Yeah.
Like God to me represents the Islamic faith. The Christian God to me, I don't see God. I can't explain. I don't see anything there. So
Yeah.
to me, it was the only logical choice in the end.
Alhamdulillah.
It's supposed to be the same God too, though. So, it's the God of Abraham, God of Isaac. Just throwing that out there.
Man.
I'm sorry that he doesn't
As
see
you're saying
anything.
this, I'm sure
I do.
many people are like ecstatic and extremely happy. It's a great thing for everyone, honestly, because just anyone coming into Islam is the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us better than the world and everything in it.
Yeah.
But imagine now somebody of major influence. I mean, you're the most Googled person on the planet. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you still have
Yeah,
the top spot on
I
that.
think Putin might have beat me as of last week, but I think it's between me and Putin at the moment.
I never
But
thought
I don't
I'd
want to
hear-
lose to Putin. Look, Putin's the big G. I don't want more enemies. Like it's fine, Vladimir. You can have it.
I never thought I'd hear you saying that statement.
Yeah,
It's my
Putin
favorite
beat me
mega
last year,
villain.
right?
yeah,
Last
yeah.
week.
I think we're certainly the most Googled.
But no, it's definitely something beautiful, and a lot of people have. You'll be surprised at how many women as well. Like, because obviously the accusations of misogyny and stuff, which
Yeah.
but a lot of women have, well, just before I came, one can't reveal, but she's a school teacher in London, and actually my friend told me that she was kicked out of school because of this campaign against in the schools.
See, yeah, this was part of the cancellation. I did not.
Yeah, so in British schools, they said, if you say anything about, if you say anything or supported or prevent anything, and if you say anything, you have to combat his extremism or whatever it may be, right? So because when you became Muslim, she abstained from doing that. She said, I can't do that because,
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I think they do have. There's this brotherhood, and that we've lacked in Christianity, because it's my church. That's not my church, and we forgot the big Catholic Church, which is the universal, which is the big C church. All of us, one body under Christ. We've forgotten that. We have definitely forgotten that.
Islamic laws and it's backbiting and it's got honor in Islam and so on. And unfortunately, they fired her from the position.
Wow.
So you can see that this is the level of encroachment we're talking about here. So, and this shows you that the level of fraternity that exists, and not only the fact that when you're looking at Twitter or whatever social media, it's not a representation of what's really happening on the ground.
Of course, and I mean that's crazy to hear. And what's most crazy is, the fervor behind this idea that I'm somehow extremist is truly clown world. Like I've sat as a professional and analyzed my content and understood things can be taken out of context and which things were said in a way perhaps they shouldn't have been said before I was massively famous. But we have to sit here and understand that if you take anybody on the planet and give them 7 years of YouTube and then they decide and they blow up big, you're going to be able to find 30 to 45 seconds of clip across all those years that can be taken out of context, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's especially nowadays. Anything and everything is taken out of context. Everything. So it's almost like people make that into a job almost to see what they can take out of context. So and yeah, to think that Andrew Tate is the most toxic person on online with the crazy stuff that's out there, that's just for me. That is complete clown world, completely.
Yeah.
And it's truly crazy because they sit and say, oh yeah, but you know, the young boys are watching your stuff and they don't truly understand all of it, and there's nuance that's missing. And my argument is very simple. My argument is, well, one, you're taking small clips out of context, and two, there's not a single piece of content on the internet that a 14-year-old boy can't misunderstand. Name someone who's producing content on the internet that you would be 100% happy for a 14-year-old to
drill artists, and so they say that. I mean, I live in an area. I'm not going to mention the names of the artists, but they're talking about going to.
I know it is ironic because then you just push rap and murder and all this horrible shit on these kids, and then you're like, Andrew Tate is the one that's
Yeah.
the devil. Wild. Cardi B. Did I show you this video?
Oh yeah, check this one.
Oh boy.
I tatted my son's name because I love him, and I tatted my daughter's name. So now that I got my son's name on my face, I told Offset to bust nuts on this side of my face.
Yeah, but this is the role model for women, and apparently, she is better than Andrew Tate.
Because, you know, it's kind of weird. Like, don't touch this side of the face, touch this side of the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, make sure you don't bust over here, bust nuts here.
She's the one going on like the kids shows and shit like that.
Yep, she goes on kids shows. And Andrew Tate tells kids work out, and he's bad.
This is the young girls of
But
America
the young girls are
looking up
apparently
to her.
yeah, but the young girls are apparently smart enough to decide that that's not a good role model.
Oh yeah, they sure are.
It's so stupid. It's backwards.
Some people recognize when I converted to Islam that there was a time I was an atheist. There was a time when I was atheistic. And the reason I am now so absolutely certain that God is real is because I've seen evil. I've seen shaitan. I've seen it. When you see enough evil, you realize that there must be an equal and opposite force. And there are people out there in the world today doing the work of the devil, genuine demons, who are trying to destroy the baseline morality that's inside of all of us. We're all born with some kind of morality, and they're trying to destroy it.
And that's exactly the Islamic understanding. That we believe that you're born with something called fitrah, which is the initial goodness. You're born with an innate.
I don't know. It's the difference. I know that Christianity, we believe we're born with the stain of sin, but I'm not sure in there. I mean, I think we all believe we all have initial good and evil inside of us. That's interesting.
Innate belief, receptivity to believe in one God. Yeah. And then that is corrupted. In fact, there's a prophet, hadith of the prophet where he says, كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. Every born child is born upon this initial goodness. فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. And then his father and mother or his parents, they socialize him into Christianity, Judaism, Magiism. So the idea is that everyone is born with this initial goodness and this initial will or want to believe in God, one God. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, it's what you're mentioning here is profound, because you're mentioning a central doctrine in Islam.
So if that is true, and I think that's a lovely belief. I really like that. If that is true, that all humans are born with that, then what happens is, like these Christians who he's talking about, who are totally lost and have no connection to their religion or any God, and they talk about it, but it's all just lip service. They have that's still in them, and they have a chance to come back to that. I mean, he himself is 30-something years old and now just coming to this. So who is he to pass judgment on the Christians?
Oh yeah,
I don't like that.
And I saw the Quran, and it confirms some.
But anybody should be able to pass judgment on Christianity. You're supposed to call out things that are good or bad or indifferent regardless. So just the fact that you think he hasn't been, quote, Christian long enough to say anything bad about Christianity, that's just doesn't make any sense.
So many things for me, like even the conversations I've been having so far, so many things have been confirmed, and it's amazing the knowledge that's inside of it, which is so applicable today. For an old book, right? It's supposed to be old, but it seems so timeless. But it's truly amazing. But you're totally right. And the baseline morality, I don't think most people understand that when they're doing this under the guise of tolerance, when they're saying be so tolerant that you no longer believe in right from wrong, they're not doing that to make society a better place. They're doing that to empty your brain so that you have no resistance to the slave mind programming. They want to get you to a point where if they tell you the sky is green, you look at with your own eyes and you see blue, but no, the sky is green. That's what they want, so that you have to have nothing in your brain that can prevent that. If you have God, if you have I believe this is right and wrong, if you have personal responsibility, if you have self-accountability, if you're a person who sticks up for what he believes, all that's bad to them. They want all of that gone.
Yeah. So that is true. Definitely true on there. Just see what's going on in the world, especially, I'm not, I'm being throttled on YouTube completely, just shadow banned. Just you have to follow a certain, I guess you say, mantra or doctrine, or else you just get, cancel culture. You understand? Twitch is really big on that too. I doubt I'll be too long in Twitch before I show a video that nobody doesn't like, and then boom, just get my channel completely destroyed. That's just the way it is.
So they can tell you the sky is green.
This may be a loaded statement because I don't fully understand what I'm talking about, but maybe the Christians, the legit Christians, and the Muslims should get together, for political purposes.
Collab stream? They're going to collab?
They need to get together and join forces and be able to, really stand for traditional values. Even it doesn't, because it truly doesn't matter if you're following the Quran or you're following true biblical principles. They're very similar, and there's enough similarity that we.
It's funny because, again, she's supposedly not a Christian, and the little Bible says you're not supposed to do that. Period. Yeah, you're not supposed to. It even warns against being in a relationship with other that are not in the same faith. I mean, all that, everything you're saying, no, it's technically it's not what you're supposed to do in the faith. In the Christian faith.
We can stand together to create traditional solid values in American culture again, instead of all this fucking madness that's sending us down the toilet. Tate's sitting here shitting on Christianity. If he really cared about those values, he would look around and say,
if you really care about those values, then you should call out the things that you see wrong, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how you're in your feelings. Period. On there. It's not about your feelings, it's about facts. If those facts are uncomfortable, then you're like, oh, okay, then we need to work on these facts.
Hey, who can I align myself with? Who can I align with to make sure that these values that we save society together?
I understand why. Like, the thing is, though, I understand exactly why he's saying it.
I hope his next step in his evolution is to say, and maybe this isn't in the Muslim religion. I don't know. I know shit.
In the Islamic religion.
Is to come. His next step as a Muslim is to say, who can we align ourselves with to create the world that we believe we want, even if we don't have a religion. And maybe this religion, it's like, if you're not one of us, like everybody's.
No, I hate sides, but from what he's saying is, like, if he has to pick to a religion that actually sticks to the belief.
I'm past that.
Well, no, because even you yourself, that's what I'm saying. Even you yourself are not past that, because you yourself were like, oh no, I was shopping for religion. I was, looking for the right on there. So you're not past that, because you were doing the same, the same thing. You look for, quote, the right, church on there. So you do the same thing. So why it's wrong for him to do it, but it's not wrong when you do it. And again, that's the problem, the double standards.
It's about what's next, like getting these religions together,
Collab stream.
Yes, collab. Yeah.
And it's to program us all into slaves. And it's
I remember when I was in my undergraduate days, and I was reading a particular book by this guy called Jeremy Bentham, who became like, you know, the spiritual forefather of J.S. Mill, who is the father of like social liberalism of today. And I remember reading this because it was so powerful, because it linked to something I read in the Quran. He said that, you know, you have two gods. He said you have the God of pain and you have the God of pleasure. And I thought, this is so interesting. The Quran states, you know, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as a God?
Yeah.
And because now there is no transcendental force, as you say, now we're forced to be slaves to the system. Or, I mean, the Quran has another verse which
I think it also, even in Christianity, the same way. I think we're all striving for the same things. For all religions on is to find that whole, righteousness and purity and, holiness, so to speak.
powerful and it connects very well with what you're saying. It says, God ضرب الله رجلا, that God has struck a parable فيه شركاء متشاكسون, that he's got many different slave owners. ورجل سلما لرجل, and another kind of man who's only got one slave owner. God is basically telling us in the Quran that you've got one example of one individual who's got multiple slave owners and another one with just one. He says, هل يستويان مثلا, are they the same? So here the idea is, as Rousseau said it, he's a liberal philosopher, he said that man is born free but everywhere in chains. This is the order. If you to worship, then you're going to end up having to worship everything else. And the whole part of the Shahada which is Ashhadu.
Holy shit. Easy.
What's crazy?
No, if you
know
don't-
this already. You came to church with me, and you heard, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks in a row, sermons from JD about idolatry and about worshiping false gods and how.
Yeah. This is. Why are you attacking him? It's like, you already know this. You know this now. How dare you? I mean, he at least is expressing himself on it. If don't attack the poor boy, especially now when you could have a conversation on it and maybe bring in, oh well, actually, how our faith are very similar. Let me explain why. No need to attack him. No need to shame him. No need to insult him.
How they're never gonna fulfill you. You're always gonna fall short. Nothing's ever gonna work. That is exactly the same thing as here. We have parallels.
No, yeah, 100%. I definitely see all
But
the parallels.
but you're bugging out on it again. You forgot. I gotta remind you, or I gotta take you back and show you the recordings of JD talking about that, because
no,
you
that's
liked it. You
definitely a
came
good
home
point.
and you talked about it in the middle of the week. You remember? I remember you saying you were thinking about it. It's an excellent point.
It is. I just think, especially like a lot of regular churches, it's just like I don't get anything out of it. The church.
See,
Good.
Yeah. Now you understand why. I don't get anything out of it. I'm telling you why he's not, why he quote forgot about it. Like, he's telling you about it now, so then there's a problem.
But like for the most of the time, old ass dude reading something that you can't even hear him.
Wow.
And you gotta stand up and you gotta sing your songs, and it's just like, what am I gain anything from this?
Well, and that's the problem with them both. It's not a lifestyle. It is not fun. He wants fun. He wants some and she wants a Instagram type church. It's like they're both not actually, what they're the real reason why you go into a faith. Or the reason why Andrew Tate converted, doing something in the first place had nothing to do with a lifestyle or fun or anything. Actually, the opposite. How hard it is to be, how hard is it to be a Muslim? The discipline it takes. Well, he's like nowhere near that. And she definitely doesn't even care.
This spiritually, could have read a book and had more insight.
Right. But to look at it and understand, and as you get older, you understand that that's just one experience of it.
No, yeah, I'm sure that
And
there's
and that's why I'm on the hunt for the right church here in Florida. And I've been to three so because they're different, and you got to find the one that gets you where you're trying to go with it. But yes, sitting and listening to a crusty 99-year-old man may be a great experience, but it gets a little boring.
That's not the point. That's not what you would go church for. Sorry to break it to you. That's not the whole point. That's not the point at all. So if that's your problem about it, that's the problem. That's not that's not what you will go to church for.
Boring sometimes, and I don't know. I found Catholicism. I love it as a culture because we're Italian, and I love the gold. But I also found it to be like very disconnecting from God, and very like he says God be feared, and I'm like that's what they did, and it didn't do anything for me. I like the God that like wants to sit down next to me and get me through my shit, and
That's the problem right there. That's it. You just described in a nutshell the problem of Christianity. Oh well, I don't want the actual accountability, the fear of God. I just want the hey. That's what you want. Don't worry about it. You did bad. Forget about it. Forget about it. That's what you want. It's depressing.
that's where what I found with the Baptists. So interesting. This is interesting because I like learning more about the Muslims. Let's see what else they got to say. We've got 2 minutes.
The true meaning of that, La ilaha illallah, is that there is no God worthy of worship except for one God.
Yep.
Which means that your desires or the system or these people that want to control us, the problem is they're not worthy of worship. The only one worthy of our subordination and submission is the creator of the heavens and the earth. There's no one else.
I agree, and
Sounds like a Christian.
I completely agree, and I've agreed with this for the longest time. I've
Not really. You yourself don't like to go to churches where it's like kind of boring. So you go to churches for the preacher, not for God.
never been to like a music concert. And people ask me why, and I said, I just look at it and I feel embarrassed. I look at someone up on a stage dancing around, and I look at hundreds of thousands of peasants in the crowd. Just yeah. I'm like, it's I feel cringe. It's like secondhand embarrassment when I see these festivals and everyone's losing their mind, or these music concerts.
What did I tell you after I went to Rolling Loud in New York City?
Oh, I think you said it was like you just felt like an NPC. Is that right? Yeah.
I said I felt like a bot after seeing Cardi.
And I told you, going to festivals and stadiums sucks. It's no way to see music. Going to a club and theater shows, you're really taking in a different level.
And that's why it's weird, the whole contemporary one on there. I mean, they're there worshiping the guy who's singing. I don't care what anybody says. That's all they're doing. Just worshiping that guy. So, I don't know.
Entertainment that is very much more personal. So he's not wrong in half the cases.
No, not at all.
Genuinely feel embarrassed for the people who go, because to me that is a form of worship. Like, you can listen to the music at home for free. You don't have to wait in that line and stand out in the cold. Like, I don't know. Perhaps it was a bit extreme, but I've always known that they're trying to give us false idols to some degree.
Yep.
And when I speak to atheists, they go, oh, I don't believe in God. But they've signed up so hard to the liberal woke agenda. They're as religious as anybody, but they're just believing in the wrong things. They're believing in degeneracy, and they're believing in the work of the devil. So humans always need something to believe in. And it's a great thing you said about your own desires. It's like one guy I was talking to since my conversion says, it's interesting that somebody with everything, all the Western world, everything somebody could want has now converted. And I said, yeah, because even before my conversion, I understood that hedonism is a black hole and you can never fill it. You're never going to be able to have enough girls to be happy with girls. You're never going to be able to have enough money to be happy with money. You're never going to be able to, drink enough.
That's a fact, though. You'll never have enough. It's the never-ending struggle of trying to fill an empty hole. It's got to be just aggravating. Like I don't know how, that whole, yeah, because you never do enough. You never have enough. And I've seen them. I've seen what that will do. That's why people get into addictions and stuff. It's just because that's what it is. You have a hole that can only, I think, that can only be filled with your spiritual self, with God, belief, and morality. When you don't have that, it's just that hole just becomes a chasm that you try to throw anything in there. It just doesn't work.